So I wanted to make this quick video about the Amazon Onsite on something that I noticed to be a very interesting, but ultimately I believe a wrong approach to prepare for it. And that refers to the strategy of primarily preparing on the leadership principles themselves. In other words, preparing to score as high as possible on the leadership principles, this being your core strategy in going into a job interview. And to give a little bit of insight here, like it's only 5 years ago, I believe, that there was not much information available about these Amazon interviews, and actually many people were selling you even the opportunity to find out some questions for these Amazon interviews. And it's been a long way since, and now there's a lot of information available. And with this amount of information, there's also various ideas that might arise when it comes for you to prepare for such an interview. So it's well known that Amazon puts a lot of emphasis on the leadership principles in their jobs interviews. They even evaluate you on some, if not all, of these leadership principles during on-site. So many of you are embracing a strategy where you prepare specifically to score as high as possible on the leadership principles. When I say specifically, I mean you start Googling questions for the leadership principles and try to answer them in the best possible way to score as high as possible on the leadership principles. Even worse, if you Google for, 10 questions for each of the leadership principles and start answering those. Now, why do I say this? I say this because I've actually a little bit of experience, with candidates going through the process. I noticed candidates who prepare specifically on the principles as their core and often only strategy to prepare for the onsite are not as likely to get job offers as others. Why would this be? Why would this strategy be flawed? Well, this strategy is not the best because what matters in a behavioral interview and in a job interview for that matter is the quality of your story. So long as you make sense, so long the quality of your story is exceptional, that answer will be perceived as a great one. If it has a couple of more beautifiers, such as metrics, such as a couple of keywords and behaviors from a given leadership principle that they want to screen you on if you want, then even better. The primary thing, the core thing, the main thing that you want to understand here is the story that sells in a job interview. And it's not the storytelling, it's the story, right? So long as you have high quality stories, the best quality stories, you're always going to win in a job in that specific job interview, right? So I would very much encourage you to start brainstorming for what are the best stories from your career, both positive and negative types of stories. And once you have your list of 20 such stories, it's only then that once you feel comfortable speaking about your stories and making sense, then you start beautifying them. And of course, you could look at the leadership principles, you could add a few more metrics there, you could make them more clear, you could sell a bit more positivity on them, and so on and so forth. But the strategy of preparing directly on the leadership principles and starting scoring as high as possible on the leadership principles, I found this to be too reactive to generate high quality answers for a job interview. So that's why I would very much encourage you to start with the stories and to look elsewhere, to also look elsewhere for optimizing your answers, right? So the main thing is having the highest quality stories. And if you want beautifiers or optimizers for your answers, yes, of course, the leadership principles are good. Finding questions of the leadership principles are good, but also the metrics. And don't forget that a huge factor of success in these jobs interviews is listening skills and reading the room. So this, you preparing on the leadership principles goes hand in hand with you reading the room if you want. There's only these are only extra things you could do for the job interview. So again, I hope you found this useful in the sense that you should focus very much on the quality of your answers primarily, and only then on optimizing it for whatever leadership principles and other things you'd want to focus on for your virtual onsite.